If you're a gifted person, it doesn't mean that you gained something. It means you have something to give back. Carl Jung. Giftedness is not a reward. It is not a trophy placed in your hands. It is a responsibility, a quiet fire that demands to be shared. And if you keep it hidden, that same fire will turn inward and burn you from within.
Giftedness. The word itself sounds golden, like a metal placed gently into the hands of a chosen one. People imagine advantage, ease, brilliance that shines without effort. But they rarely see the other side of the word, the weight, the silence, the isolation. For those who carry it, being called gifted is not a crown. It is a chain. And the chain is forged not from failure, but from expectation. If you are gifted, people assume you have gained something, that you have been blessed with extra vision, sharper thought, deeper creativity. But in truth, nothing is gained. What you have is not treasure, but responsibility. What you hold is not privilege, but a flame that, if ignored, begins to burn the one who hides it. That is why I want to tell you a story, not of success, not of triumph, but of silence, of someone who once tried to bury their light so deeply that even they forgot it was there. This is not just her story. It is mine. And if you are listening closely, it may also be yours. Because the truth is this: when life gives you something unusual, a voice, a vision, a gift, it is not yours to keep. It belongs to the world. And until you give it back, you will never truly rest. So let us walk together into the symbolic, into the dreamlike. Tonight's story is a mirror. Look carefully, because somewhere inside it, your reflection is waiting. She was born in a town where the streets were narrow, and the walls seemed to echo the same conversations, over and over. Life there was predictable, almost scripted. People found safety in staying within the lines. But she never quite fit inside those lines. From childhood, she noticed what others refused to see. The small tremors in a voice that revealed hidden sadness. The way laughter sometimes carried the sound of loneliness. The dreams she had at night, that later unfolded in reality. As if her subconscious had whispered a secret the world wasn't ready for. The adults called her gifted. They praised her with words that felt heavy, like garments too large for her shoulders. Teachers expected brilliance. Neighbors expected obedience. And even her parents looked at her as though her existence was supposed to fulfill something unfinished in their own lives. Every compliment carried an unspoken demand. Do not waste this. Do not disappoint us. Do not fall from the height we've placed you on. So she learned how to fold herself into silence. She began to choose words carefully, keeping the sharper truths hidden. She dimmed her questions, even when they burned in her throat. She smiled when she wanted to scream, and she played small, even when her heart ached to stretch. But inside, something was breaking. Her gift, ignored and unexpressed, began to twist into unrest. It showed up in sleepless nights, in a sense of detachment from the people around her, in the growing suspicion that she was not living her life at all, but someone else's. And yet, she kept pretending. She thought if she was careful enough, polite enough, quiet enough, maybe she could carry the weight without being crushed. But silence has a price. And the longer she stayed quiet, the louder her soul began to scream. Night after night, her dreams carried her to the same place, an old, endless house. Its walls stretched far beyond what her eyes could hold, filled with doors she had never opened. At first, she wandered only in the hallways, afraid of what might wait on the other side. The doors were tall, some cracked open with light spilling through, others sealed tightly, whispering in silence. Each time she passed them, her chest tightened, as if something inside knew they belonged to her. One night, curiosity overcame fear. She pushed open a door and stepped into a room that felt strangely familiar. A piano stood there, covered in dust. but when her fingers touched the keys, the sound was pure, alive. The melody that flowed out of her hands was not one she had learned. It was one she had always carried. She woke up trembling, as though a piece of her had been returned. But the dream did not end there. Every time she returned, another door awaited her. Behind one, a canvas smeared with half-painted colors, begging her to finish. Behind another, a library filled with books written in her own handwriting, stories she had never told. And in one room, hidden deep inside the house, she saw mirrors. Hundreds of them, all reflecting her face in different forms. A child, an artist, a healer, a stranger she did not yet know. She began to realize the house was not a place outside of her. It was her. Every locked door was a gift unopened. Every forgotten room, a piece of her soul waiting to be claimed. The dream was not a warning. It was an invitation. Morning light always felt heavier after those dreams. She would wake with fragments of music still echoing in her chest, or with colors from unfinished paintings staining her thoughts. Yet, as soon as she stepped into the world outside, the weight of expectation pressed down, smothering the fragile glow she had carried from sleep. Her family, her teachers, her friends, they all seemed to speak the same language. Be practical. Be sensible. Follow the path already carved. It was not spoken harshly, but woven into every glance, every question. What will you do with your life? The world admired certainty, not wandering. Achievement, not inner discovery. And so, whenever she tried to share her strange dreams, she saw the same smile of polite dismissal. They called it imagination. They called it distraction. But she knew it was more. One evening, she sat at a dinner table, surrounded by voices discussing careers, salaries, and respectable futures. She nodded. She smiled. She pretended to belong. But deep inside, she felt as though she were suffocating in a room with no windows. The house of forgotten rooms inside her seemed to grow more distant. With every nod of agreement, every forced smile, the heaviest burden was not their expectations. It was her silence. To carry a truth within her, to feel it beating in her chest, yet to bury it under the noise of what others demanded. That was the slowest kind of death. Still, late at night, when the world was asleep, she would close her eyes and return to the house. There, behind each door, the unfinished pieces of her true self waited patiently. The dreams never accused her. They never scolded her. They only whispered, "When you are ready, we will be here." It happened quietly, almost invisibly, like a candle lit in a room no one else could see. She bought a notebook, plain and unremarkable, and began to fill it with fragments from her inner world. At first, only a few lines, half-formed poems, sketches of symbols she saw in dreams, notes about the melodies that hummed through her bones. But each word written was an act of defiance. Each page turned was a whisper to herself. I will not let this gift rot in silence. The rebellion was not loud. It was not announced. There were no fireworks, no grand declarations. But for her, it was a revolution. Because for the first time, she was not only receiving from the inner house, she was giving something back. Translating vision into word, dream into form. When she looked at the pages, she saw imperfections everywhere. Broken sentences, uneven sketches, ideas that stumbled more than they soared. Doubt clawed at her constantly. Who are you to think this matters? Yet even as the doubts whispered, the act of creating gave her a strange kind of freedom. The notebook became a secret sanctuary, a bridge between her hidden rooms and the visible world. One night, she read one of her poems aloud, softly, almost as though afraid the walls might judge her. The words carried an unfamiliar weight, trembling but alive. And for a fleeting moment, she felt the truth of the quotation she once heard. Being gifted does not mean you have gained something. It means you have something to give back. It was a fragile beginning. But all beginnings are fragile. And sometimes, the smallest rebellion, the decision to create in silence, is the seed of transformation. The notebook grew heavier with every page she filled. Not because of the ink, but because of the weight of possibility. To give back meant sooner or later to be seen. And nothing frightened her more than being seen. In her solitude, she was safe. Her words belonged only to her. They could not be mocked, dismissed, or misunderstood. But the moment they touched another's eyes, they would no longer be hers. They would belong to the world. The thought made her chest tighten, as though an invisible hand pressed against her lungs. She imagined handing her notebook to someone, maybe a friend, maybe a stranger, and hearing them laugh. Or worse, watching their eyes glaze over with indifference. That, she thought, would be unbearable. For a gifted person, the deepest wound is not criticism. It is the silence of others, the void of no response. And yet, another thought stirred within her. Was the gift truly a gift if it never left her hands? Was she hoarding something meant to flow outward? The quotation echoed in her like a haunting. It doesn't mean you gain something. It means you have something to give back. The words were beautiful, but they also burned, because they demanded action. She lived in the paradox. Every day she wrote with fervor, building a private cathedral of words. And every night, she feared the door to that cathedral opening. To create was one kind of courage, but to reveal, that was another. Her soul hovered on the threshold, torn between safety and surrender. And the longer she waited, the louder the question became. Are you willing to risk being seen? Or will your gift die behind closed doors? One evening, the weight of her silence became unbearable. She sat in her small room, the notebook open before her, its pages trembling under the weight of unspoken purpose. The words she had poured out over months stared back like restless spirits, aching to breathe beyond the paper. She realized then that creation without sharing was a kind of burial, a graveyard for living voices. The breaking point did not arrive with thunder. It arrived quietly, almost tenderly. She overheard a friend confessing their loneliness, their feeling of drifting through life unseen. Something inside her stirred. She thought of the very lines she had written just days ago. Lines about the ache of invisibility, the hunger to be recognized. Her friend's words mirrored her own secret sorrows. And for the first time she understood. Her gift was not about her. It was about connection. The terror of being seen had kept her silent. But the greater terror now was irrelevance. Living a life where her gift never reached those who needed it most. A truth settled into her chest like a stone. If she kept hiding, her gift would wither. And with it, a part of her soul. That night, with trembling hands, she copied one passage from her notebook and folded it carefully. The decision felt both terrifying and liberating, as though she had broken open a cage door. It wasn't a grand act. It wasn't a speech to the world. But it was the first crack in the wall she had built around herself. Sometimes, the breaking point is not about collapse. It is about surrender. The willingness to let the gift flow outward, no matter how small the first step may seem. The next morning, she slipped the folded passage into her friend's hand. Without a word, her heart raced, as if she had given away a piece of her very soul. Hours later, when her friend returned, their eyes glistened with quiet gratitude. It felt, they whispered, as if someone finally understood me. That single moment shattered years of doubt. Her gift, once a burden, became a bridge. What followed was not instant fame or applause, no bright spotlight, no roaring crowd. Instead, it was something quieter, something more profound. Each time she shared a fragment of her words, someone would pause, soften, and say, That's exactly how I feel. She began to realize her role was not to dazzle, but to illuminate, to give language to emotions others struggled to express. For so long, she believed her gift was hers to protect, to guard from criticism or failure. But in giving it away, she discovered its true nature. A flame meant to be passed, not hidden. The act of sharing did not diminish her. It expanded her, as if each offering returned to her multiplied through the hearts it touched. The quote that had once been abstract now lived in her bones. If you are a gifted person, it doesn't mean that you gain something. It means you have something to give back. She understood now. A gift is not measured by possession, but by its circulation, its ability to move from one soul to another. Her story is not unique. It belongs to all of us. Whatever your gift may be, words, music, compassion, resilience, it is not yours alone. It is the universe flowing through you, waiting to be given back. And in that giving, we do not lose ourselves. We finally become who we were meant to be.